tack. Det här var ett frukostseminarium som Union to Union ordnade. Inga jobb på en död planet. Men det kan låta lite deppigt, men jag upplevde inte samtalet som det, utan lösningarna finns om man bara vill. Fortsätt prata med våra seminariedeltagare här till vänster och passa på att ställa era frågor. Nästa programpunkt, den handlar om lärarens roll inom hållbar utveckling och utbildning i Ungern. Det är ju så som vi alla känner till att Ungern är ett av temaområdena på 2015 års bokmässa. Det kan vara kontroversiellt i vissa politiska lägen och det kan vara helt naturligt i andra. Men en lärare eller en pedagog är ju alltid viktig för en människas utveckling. Och det är Lärarnas riksförbund som kommer hålla sitt seminarium med 2 ungerska lärare och prata om hur teachers role concerning sustainability and education in Hungary today. Alldeles strax kommer det. Men ni vet hur det är när man sätter seminarieprogram. Och ni vet hur det är när man reser med SJ. Det blir aldrig riktigt som man har tänkt sig. Så ikväll klockan 18:20 så skulle vi ha Fredrik Reinfeldt här på scenen och han skulle prata om sin pinfärska bok Halvvägs. Det programmet är tyvärr inställt och ersatt av någonting minst lika spännande och roligt. Så att ikväll kommer inte Fredrik Reinfeldt hit, men det gör Daniel Kehlman med en berättelse full av svart humor. Det är så här att 2004 så kom Daniel ut med boken Jag och Kaminski. Vi som läste den var lite förvånade och vi undrade vem är det här, och man fnissade mycket. 2008 belönades han med P.O. Enquist-priset. I år går ju P.O. Enquist-priset till Carolina Ramqvist. Det kommer delas ut senare idag i ett av seminarieprogrammen. Men nu är det så att Daniel har släppt sin 4:e bok, F heter den. Och han har släppt den i svensk översättning alldeles nyss. Det är 18:20 ett nyinsatt program ikväll. Många saker sker på stora scenen idag. Vi har till exempel Sanning med modifikation 15:40. Sara Lövenstam berättar om sin roman om Kauplan. Missa inte det, det kommer att bli jättespännande. Klockan 16 kommer Mona Sahlin hit. Hon är nationell samordnare mot våldsextremism. Hon kommer berätta om hur rekryteringen till IS ska stoppas. Vi som har lyssnat på Mona Sahlin förut vet att hon begränsar sig inte till att bara prata om IS utan vill gärna prata om andra våldsbejakande organisationer. Sådär, vi väntar ju på att vi ska sätta igång med vårt nästa program som är Lärarnas riksförbund, och det kommer handla om lärarnas roll inom hållbar utveckling. Det är Zoran Alagic. Om han är i närheten får han gärna närma sig scenen. Du kan komma upp här. Välkommen. Det är Judit och det är Magnus Blixt. Hej, välkommen. Här är, Hi, nice to meet you. Welcome to the stage. I'll give you a microphone. I'm sorry I couldn't pronounce your last name, so that will give you time to introduce yourself. And Zoran, you have your microphone there. Good. And Magnus, välkommen. So this talk will be held in English, and it's about teachers' role in sustainability in Hungary today.
Yes.
Thank you, and good luck.
Welcome to this conversation, because we are now...
Zoran, let me give you a trick. Close to the chin.
Close,
like that.
so okay, yeah. My name is Zoran Alagic, and I'm a press officer at the National Union of Teachers in Sweden, called Lärarnas Riksförbund in Swedish. Here I have two teachers who will talk about sustainability. Judit Benyovszki, she's from Hungary, and she's an English teacher. And Magnus Blixt, he's a teacher on the primary level in Swedish school. And I would like to, sustainability, we heard that the union is important. They talked about the union's role to build a sustainable world. But I think also that the teachers are very important in that work to build a sustainable world. But we'll start with Judit. You're from Hungary, and can you give me some short notes about the Hungarian educational system and also how you work with sustainability, briefly?
Okay, hello, welcome. My name is Judit Benyovszki, and I also teach at primary level currently. I teach students from the age of 10 to 14. That's the age when they start to learn English, and we have 3 stages, 3 levels. First is primary, then secondary, and then they go to university. Going back to your question about teachers' roles, I think we have to go back even when we talk about sustainability to the question of what is sustainable education and also what is sustainable knowledge. Because teachers only are some kind of executors of that work, and first of all they should be aware, or we should be aware of what knowledge we should teach children to make them good adults. And I think so far I've been here and talked to many people. I think all countries struggle with the same problems, that students sometimes are misbehaving, they have little interest and little motivation. So I think the whole concept should be changed to make it more sustainable for the future.
Do you see interest from the students, the pupils? Because my image is that they are very interested in these subjects in the Swedish school. Do you see the same in the Hungarian?
Well, of course, you should ask a physics teacher. I don't think every subject is the same. Some subjects obviously are more difficult. Mathematics and physics are usually, students struggle with those, and we have, well, it's not a shame to say, it's a fact, bad results in any kind of survey they make. I think the problem is that they have to learn a tremendous amount of lexical knowledge that they can get access to anywhere else, from the internet or from libraries. So maybe the focus shouldn't be on examining whether they know all this, but whether they have the right attitude to search for knowledge, whether they have the ability to analyze things, understand social circumstances, and I think Hungarian students are quite weak in that.
Magnus, what do you say in this subject?
I agree that this is we must go back to the original question: what is sustainability? And often it's, well, you must, the physical environment, and that is, of course, a vital idea, but that's not enough. I see sustainability must include also the social sustainability. That we not just know what to do, but we must have the attitudes to do it, and we must create a culture together that we also make it. And it's from the simple thing that if you throw litter on the floor or in the garbage can, and up to the world, really.
Yeah, I think it's the word is good, that we create culture. I mean, in order to create culture, you have to be innovative, creative, and I don't know really if current schools can provide that creativity level. Hungarian schools are often badly equipped, so we cannot really react well to the digital age that surrounds students and which is an everyday thing for them. So maybe one way would be to include equipment that students or the world finds more fun. And for that, teachers should get out of their eggshells or nutshells or whatever, snail shells, and they should also be more up-to-date, more open to things. So I think we need open-minded, creative and innovative teachers who don't only want to perform a curriculum that is given to them, but they also want to form students' minds honestly, and that's more important.
Yeah, and I think that the Swedish curriculum is quite clear on that. That is also a task for us. I think that we have both those assignments, and we, of course, if you are going to be creative, you must have a great knowledge to be creative about. So you must have both really. But sustainability, I mean, it must be about living in the world and creating the world that we want to have together. And we, I mean, in the school, all kids are there. They meet here, and they meet with us. So we must really create that culture about the question: how do we want to have it? What world would we like to have, and which steps must we take to get there? And of course, this is we all must be quite open-minded and have that question.
We heard that the person from the union earlier talked about we need a mass movement to change things in the world, and that must start in the school, I guess.
Well, yes, but of course, as I said in earlier talks, teachers currently do not have that kind of independence. And it's also a question of that, whether you trust the teachers enough to be able to perform their task to the best of their knowledge. But in order to do that, you have to give them good goals. And if the goal is, for example, in Hungary, to prepare them for different tests, examinations, GCSE exams, in order to get to university, then that's more difficult. Of course, I could be very creative and I could take my class to experimental and different sessions, you know, where they can experience things by themselves. But then I will have parents knocking on my door like, why didn't you prepare my daughter for the maths examination, you know? So it's very difficult to be sustainable in that sense, and to educate good citizens who are aware of themselves, who are aware of the problems, who can find answers to solutions, and also give them knowledge that they need in a bigger system. And also I think education is really difficult because you always ask, like, what is general knowledge? I mean, what is that you need to have a good intelligence? I mean, is it to know the different equations, or to know how to count or how to do geometry? Of course, if you end up at a different at some workplace where you need that knowledge, you dig somewhere. But in my opinion and in my experience, students forget a lot of the things that we teach them. But as also we had a discussion with Magnus about the students never forget the impact you have on them. Like that's why I think that for teachers it's more important to be great personalities who have influence on their students and who give them meaning, than to be this very wise, no, wise is good, to be this very knowledgeable person who can teach them lexical things. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I think also that, I mean, sustainability must be all over the place. Me as a teacher, I must live sustainable. I must, and me and my colleagues, we must, I mean, we can't talk about having a good dialogue if we don't have it. We can't, I don't think that the teachers should talk about lifelong learning if I'm not prepared to be a lifelong learner. And I don't just have to talk about lifelong learning, I must live lifelong learning, and that's sustainable. I think. So I think this is the key question, really, that you could pinpoint very much what we like to do in school. Is this a path to the sustainable society?
I can't agree more, because teachers, when parents trust them to us, and they basically spend students most of the time of their day at the school with people they should trust or they trust, then it also means that we become the role models instead of their parents. So you have to be genuine, you have to be credible, and I think that's very important, that you should be a person who they can look up to, who inspires them, and who they believe, and you can't ruin that trustful relationship, because once you do that, they won't accept any information from you anymore. So, and I think teachers have a lot to do in that field. Like, many teachers are not aware of that responsibility they have.
Let me dwell in a question for a moment. I'm a little bit curious. There are similarities between Sweden and Hungary. We both have parties that are intolerant in the parliament, and in Sweden it's the third biggest party, soon the second perhaps, and in Hungary it's the third biggest party, I think. Have you seen in Hungary any changes about how the government, how the politicians talk about environment and sustainability?
I will go home and tell them what to do, of course. No, I mean, joke aside.
Yeah.
Of course, there is a lot to learn, and I must say, with a lot of self-criticism, that Hungarian people are kind of we know better type, you know, so we don't really listen to, or we don't like to be told what to do. And sometimes there is this misunderstanding about just taking a good example, just look at other things, other countries, how they do it, it might be better. And in my opinion, many people are not really open for that. So when it comes to sustainability, I believe that's a road that should be taken. Globalization, of course, doesn't mean that all these identities, national identities, national specialties should change. But as the problem becomes global, as the same things are happening all over the world, you need a kind of similar reaction. And I think if there are countries where the end result is a bit better, then it's good to look at that. So practically, I think the future is smaller classrooms, much smaller, much better salaries for teachers, I must say, because really you can't expect normal work for this. Because you can't expect that, you know, we will be priests and nuns who do this for love. I mean, there is an element of that, but also you have to make a living, and some kind of digital involvement, and more money into education in general, and no politics at all.
But I will dwell with that a little more. Magnus, what do you think? Have you seen any changes in the sustainability area with this intolerance that's growing in Sweden?
No, not yet, really. And I think more and more, I think most teachers today in Sweden are quite familiar with the concept of trust. That have been a discussion for the last years, and a very important discussion. But I also think that a major mistake that we have tried to make in Sweden is to shut out the parties that's instead of taking the dialogue. How do we want to have it? Do we want this? We have just shut the door, and I think that isn't sustainable. You must have the dialogue and get the. Do we want this society where the door are closed? No, we don't. And why don't we want that? Because it's not sustainable.
Yes, I think it's the same for me. That if you declare in different important documents that everybody has freedom of expression, that applies for schools too. So there is no reason to silence any voices. It's just the way you deal with that, and that will bring good results, I hope.
Well, I thank you for talking about sustainability in this wide sense, and I hope you had interesting conversation for the people here. Thank you very much.